Matric class of 2019 registered an overall pass percentage of 81.3%, which is an improvement of 3.1% from the previous year. Now, this means that a good number of students are thrilled with their results, and many have already received final confirmations of acceptance at various tertiary institutions. Others, it's not so clear, though, what will happen next. And joining me in studio to look at some of these options with the less successful results and what could happen next is the CEO of Boston City Campus, Ari Katz. Ari, thanks very much for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Peter. Thanks for inviting us.
All right. So this past week, we've been celebrating this 81.3% pass rate and the number of bachelor passes, because I do think that there's a lot of focus often about getting into university and following that career. But there are a lot of students from that 81.3% who didn't get bachelor passes that are not going to get to university. Many of them are probably thinking it's the end of the world. And it isn't really, is it?
Absolutely not. Well, firstly, congratulations to all the matriculants, the 81% who did pass. I think what's very important for those matriculants, number one, is to understand the matric certificate that they've got. I call that matric certificate a multi-level passport because there are various endorsements one can have on that certificate, going from higher certificate to diploma to degree. And depending obviously on what endorsement you've got, that obviously entitles you into a specific pathway, either higher certificate or diploma or degree. But let us assume that you want to do a bachelor's. You want to do a degree, but you'd only achieved a higher certificate as an access point. Well, my advice to those learners is go and do the higher certificate. It's a 1-year qualification, and that will give you entree into the degree the following year.
Okay.
And it also provides you an opportunity to spend 1 year and actually explore the career that you think that you might want to do for the rest of your life. Because we know that very often students change halfway through their studies when they find out what it's really all about. And
all right, so what you're saying is that perhaps doing a short course straight after to almost bridge that gap that you found yourself in after matric to set you up for further studies at tertiary level.
If you don't have the access directly into the degree, then it's not the end of the world.
Right.
Look at what your alternatives are. I think one of the big shortfalls is that a lot of our learners don't have access to good career advice.
Right.
And especially in the new world that we live in a world that is changing very quickly. I mean, if you think about it, 10 years ago, Netflix didn't exist, Uber didn't exist. So we're living in a world that's changing very quickly, and there are a lot of careers out there available to learners that didn't exist many years ago, and that are not necessarily the traditional careers that we would have had many years ago.
Right. So, I mean, one of the things that I remembered about Boston over the years is that there are many different kinds of courses and different durations. And I wonder, these other options that are out there, what are they and what does it mean in terms of employability at the end of them?
Okay. So I think there are a couple of things. First up, as I said, career advice. And the first thing I would advise any learner is to go and get good career advice. Step into any one of the 45 Bostons, and it's completely free, and use one of the tools, Career Compass, to do career exploration. Find out about the careers, whether we offer it or whether anyone offers it. And if you don't want to come to Boston, there are most colleges offer that career advice, including the state institutions or the private institutions. Step one. Step two, what I think is also very important, to look at the qualification that you're about to embark on and also understand, does it include aspects of things like workplace integrated learning? Because that's going to give you an opportunity to experience the workplace, gain a CV, and actually understand, and it might be an entree into a job. So what's very important is that the new qualifications are constructed such they include and they incorporate the digital world. That it's not the pure rote learning that we had many years ago. That today these new courses should include things like critical thinking, analysis, etc. Irrespective of whether you're studying accounting or law or media or whatever it may be, it needs to be adapted to the new world.
So how do you wade your way through some of these things? I mean, you know, some people are going to study and all they'll get is a certificate of attendance, and they don't realize actually what I've invested in isn't worth the paper that's printed on.
So I think first up you need to be sure that whatever you're studying for is actually accredited and registered with SAQA. That's a critical element because it talks to a level of authenticity, number one. Number two, I think in addition to that, you need to explore. Don't be shy to ask the questions. What does this qualification actually entail? Is there an element of exposure to the workplace? What am I going to be able to do with this afterwards? Maybe call employers, find out how recognized that qualification actually is. But what we have seen is that the more homework a learner does prior to entering into their studies, the greater the chances of success in actually not only achieving the qualification, but ultimately gaining employment afterwards. So that you know what you're getting into.
In your experience, have you seen someone who's done matric and then perhaps done a diploma have increased employability than someone who's just tried to get employed straight from matric?
So there's no questions. The statistics show, actually, that if you look at the unemployed population of South Africa, only 6% of that population are people who have a tertiary education. Interestingly enough, I think it's approximately 55, 56% of the unemployed population don't have a matric. So even a matric already opens certain doors. But studying further, without a doubt, the statistics don't lie. At the end of the day, there's a much greater chance of employability. But it's not only the qualification. You also have to, and this is very important, learners have to use the time that they're studying to actually also build a CV. Look for workplace experience, even if you're not being paid for it. Look for things that you're going to be add to your CV that will show the future employer that, number one, you've had exposure to the industry. Number two, that you have the right attitude, as opposed to just the qualification and the technical knowledge, but actually you're able to apply that technical knowledge, number one, and number two, that you have the right attitude. Because most employers ultimately employ for attitude. At the end of the day, all the candidates that are going to appear are all going to have the certificate. You really have to differentiate yourself by showing that you've gone the extra mile. And part of that is shown in your attitude, the things that you've done during the course of your studies that are actually adding to that qualification.
All right, so bottom line, get some advice, do as much homework as you can beforehand.
Get passionate about it. Get passionate about it. Don't just study it because your parents told you to do it or your friends doing it. Get passionate about it. Make inquiries, find out about it, and then use your time whilst you're studying to actually start building your CV.
All right, Ari, pleasure talking to you. Let's do it again soon. Thanks so much indeed for your time.
Thanks, Peter.
All right, that's Ari Katz, who's the CEO of Boston City. Okay, all right, we are...